We'll go next to the Deep South oldest rivalry, where the 10th ranked Georgia Bulldogs travel to the Plains to take on the Auburn Tigers. It's going to be 7:30 Eastern time on ABC. Georgia's 4-1 in the SEC. They're 2-1. They enter as legitimate national championship contender every single year. They have had to deal with some challenges with consistency. They do have a couple injuries. There are some things to keep an eye on with Georgia in this game. And on the other side, it's the Auburn Tigers. They've lost 2 straight in the SEC. They're coming off a bye. They are desperate to get a signature victory for Hugh Freeze after 2 very hard-fought road losses to top 10 opponents in Auburn, going to Oklahoma and losing, and going to College Station and losing to the Texas A&M Aggies. Kirby Smart, one of the best in the country, 2 national championships, 6 SEC East titles, 109-20 overall. Hugh Freeze has actually played and beaten Georgia in the past. This was in 2016. It was Kirby Smart's first year at Georgia. In that game, when Freeze was at home, he was at Ole Miss at the time. They beat Georgia 45-14. That was actually Kirby Smart's first career loss as the Bulldogs head coach, but the Georgia Bulldogs have won the last 2 meetings between these 2 head coaches. The quarterback matchup pits Gunnar Stockton, who is a legitimate dual threat. His legs are a really, really good weapon, especially in the red zone and on critical third downs. He's rushed for nearly 200 yards and 5 touchdowns this year. And depending on the game, he might be the team's leading rusher. But as a passer, I think he's been very efficient as well. I think he's a better thrower than people realize. And while the numbers won't necessarily jump off the page, he's been pretty accurate. He can stretch the field, and he does have 6 touchdowns to his credit. He's also been clutch when throwing the football as well. Jackson Arnold on the other side, very dynamic as a dual threat weapon. Kirby Smart even acknowledged that. He said he runs like a running back and is a threat to score from anywhere on the field. The biggest development, though, in his game will be, can he be a little bit more willing to cut it loose as opposed to hold the ball for a really long time? That's been a problem here these last few games. However, because he's held the ball for quite a while, he has not turned the ball over. He has 0 picks this year, 5 touchdowns through the year, nearly 850 through the year, 192 and 5 touchdowns on the ground. Georgia does have a couple injuries that we need to be watching closely. The left tackle, Monroe Freeling, he had an ankle injury on the opening drive against Kentucky. It's not necessarily severe. It's not going to be an issue, hopefully, moving forward. Hopefully he can play in this game. He was not practicing earlier in the week, so keep an eye on the left tackle, Monroe Freeling. And on the right side, Ernest Green, he's had a lingering back issue that has caused him to miss multiple games. So they could potentially be without their starting tackles on both sides. They also have left guard Micah Morris, who's batting through a couple of ailments. He's continued to play, but just keep watching him because he's a super talented guy, really gifted young man. But if he's at less than 100%, that could have an impact on the team and the group as a whole. For Auburn, they'll be without Horatio Fields. He hurt his foot a couple weeks back. He was a dependable go-to guy and a possession receiver that was critical on third down. He is out. Jeremiah Cobb is the team's leading rusher. He's been dealing with a hand injury. It could kind of impact his role in the passing game. So we'll keep an eye on Cobb as well. Question number 1. Can Georgia establish the run? Georgia's offensive identity is always going to be built on a powerful and deep commitment to running the football. They have a really talented trio of backs. Chauncey Bowens, who has kind of become the go-to guy. Josh McCray, who's a hammer, wants to run and hit the hole extremely hard. And the explosive weapon that is Nate Frazier. He's still got a lot of juice out of the backfield, but ball security has been a bit of an issue for him. We haven't seen him get as many touches these last couple of weeks, at least based on what we thought he was going to get coming into the season. Don't sleep on Dwight Phillips, though, too. He's got a lot of juice there at running back as well. The home run hitting potential is always there with Georgia, but the numbers don't necessarily suggest a home run hitting outfit right now. They're kind of a churn and burn outfit. They're averaging less than 5 yards per carry, but they will be going against a defensive front that is all about stopping the run. Auburn's defense allows just over 2.5 per carry. That's the 8th best in college football. So the clash in the trenches will be huge in this matchup. If Georgia can find a way to generate consistent push, gain positive yardage on early downs, they can protect their quarterback and stick to their game plan. Question number 2. If not, if Georgia can't run the ball, can Georgia's offensive line win and hold up in pass protection? Look, Georgia's kind of built their identity around the run game. We know that they're a really good group, over 200 yards a game on the ground, but they haven't been able along the offensive line to create a lot of continuity. I mean, Kirby Smart even went as far as to say this group's kind of a mash unit. They got guys that have been forced to different positions. They've used a bunch of different combinations. They've had a bunch of injuries. They've had guys in and out of the lineup. So continuity has been a challenge for the Bulldogs up to this point. We already referenced it. Are they without Monroe Freeling potentially? Are they without Ernest Green potentially? That will force them to rely on some backups, some true freshmen in one of the most hostile environments in college football. And this is a defensive front that strength is acknowledged by pretty much anyone that's watched them. They're 12th in sacks. They have been praised by several coaches as being physical and fast and disruptive. They present you with a lot of problems. They can stop the run. They can rush the passer. So I would anticipate from Georgia a heavy dose of quick passes. They do a lot of those screen plays. They can move the pocket. And they got to probably get the ball out of Gunnar Stockton's hands quickly, depending on the availability of some of the guys up front. And the goal is kind of neutralize Auburn's pass rush without giving it time to arrive. Question number 3, will Auburn be committed to the run game? Look, Auburn has good personnel and can run the football. The guy that might be their best weapon running the ball is Jackson Arnold, their quarterback. I think he needs 10 designed carries in this game. Their top running back, Jeremiah Cobb, who does have home run hitting potential, he probably needs 15. Damari Alston, who's a really good Robin to Jeremiah Cobb's Batman, he needs to have 10. You also factor in 3 to 5 scrambles for Arnold in this game. Therefore, you're looking at 35 to 40 runs. I think you have to do that. Because when you look at the challenges that Auburn has had this year offensively, they've come in 3rd and long situations, obvious passing situations. If they can run the ball and stay committed to the run on 1st and 2nd down, get into 3rd and manageable, that's big for their offense to try to develop some rhythm in this matchup. Question number 4, will Auburn's talented wide receivers create explosives against Georgia's secondary? Now, while Auburn's passing numbers are not great, it's not due to a lack of talent on the perimeter. They have one of the receiving cores in all of college football that most teams would gladly trade for. Cam Coleman is big and physically imposing on the outside, always capable of winning one-on-one situations if he gets a one-on-one situation throughout the game. Eric Singleton there in the slot, a really good playmaker, extremely fast. He can get behind the defense at any point. The offensive struggles have been more about protection and accuracy issues from Jackson Arnold. They've only manufactured 9 explosive plays. Those are throws that have gone for 20 plus yards this year. That's 120th. You have to do that against Georgia, because if you look at where Georgia has at times been vulnerable, not necessarily the last 2 weeks, they have given up some big plays downfield. Jackson Arnold and this wide receiver core, they have to create them in this matchup. Question number 5, what will win? A Georgia pass rush that's been MIA, or the Auburn offensive line / quarterback that's been responsible for a bunch of sacks? Georgia has 7 sacks this year. That is 115th in the FBS. Only one of those sacks came from a defensive lineman. That's Ogboko, who's played just 48 snaps this year. The rest have come from blitzing linebackers. But beyond the sack numbers, they've hit the quarterback on just 25% of their defensive snaps. That's 133rd in the FBS. Meanwhile, Auburn, nobody's been sacked more than Auburn this year, partly because of the offensive line, partly because of Jackson Arnold's unwillingness to cut it loose when he probably should. That's the most sacks given up in college football this season. I will not make a pick on this game. I'll be on the call alongside Sean McDonough and Molly McGrath from Auburn, 7:30 Eastern time on ABC.